This is a global monetary asset. It is worthy of attention. If it's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million.
Yep.
Then there's the Bitcoin market, which is, I want Bitcoin upside. And of course, there's $100 billion now, I guess, in that market right now. But, at MicroStrategy, and then there's the convertible arbitragers. And the convertible arbitragers, they're like, I'm going to buy 50 million of your paper. I'm going to short 40 million or 35 million of your stock. And then as the stock moves around, I'm going to adjust the short.
Right.
And I'm extracting that premium risk-free, and that's their thing, and that's what they do. When I meet with them, by the way, I'm like, I see you guys every, few weeks or every quarter. Nice to see you again. By the way, that thing that you shorted tripled. Like my advice, what I say to them, they don't take my advice. No, it's okay. Now, everybody's got to do their thing. The short's got to be short, the long's got to be long, the trader's got to trade, right? The haters got to hate, the maxis are going to maxi. Everybody's going to do their thing. That's fine. But what I say to them is,
Michael Saylor starts off by highlighting Bitcoin's extraordinary rise as a revolutionary currency. He views the further adoption of Bitcoin as a significant turning point that will reshape the world economy by bringing technology and finance together. Bitcoin was viewed with suspicion for years. It was derided as a speculative bubble, condemned during regulatory difficulties, and its institutional acceptance was questioned. However, Bitcoin not only survived but flourished between 2020 and 2024, emerging as a respectable asset that financial institutions, governments, and businesses around the world accepted. Saylor believes that a new era in which Bitcoin's position as the ultimate store of wealth is indisputable is upon us. It is a monetary asset for the digital era because of its decentralized structure, security, and scarcity, which make it the foundation of a new financial system. Saylor has a clear vision. Bitcoin is here to stay and will continue to draw in the world's riches and power as its supremacy increases. Be sure to explore our other videos on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and digital assets, and share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for watching and enjoy the video.
I think there's been multiple stages of Bitcoin, right? There were the early years when it wasn't clear what it was or whether it would survive. Then there were the block size war years when there was a big fight over the identity of Bitcoin and what was Bitcoin and what wasn't Bitcoin. And then I think from 2020 to 2024, I would say those were the crazy years. But there was the big question was, is Bitcoin an institutional grade asset? Will it be embraced by governments, by corporations, by institutions, by traditional capital markets? And there was back and forth, and there was a lot of skepticism. And some people said it's too good to be true. Some people said it's so good they'll ban it. Some people said, well, there'll be a little bit, but it won't be much. And then there's a big fight over, is it a currency or is it capital? And I think that since November 5th, right, we've seen kind of a surge from like 68, 67, all the way through 100. I think the answer that's been questioned, the question that's been answered is Bitcoin here to stay? Is it an institutional grade asset? Will it be embraced by the wealth and the power of the world? And I think busting through 100,000 is a numeric punctuation to the emphatic answer to that question, which is yes.
Yeah.
It will be embraced. And so the capital markets discovered and supported Bitcoin, the political system did, and now we're starting to see the dominoes fall. I mean, the favorable comments by Jerome Powell, not a surprise.
Right. He's a smart guy.
And everybody else, you can see at this point the consensus is building. This is a global monetary asset. It is worthy of attention. If it's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million.
Yep.
All these things, and now it's 100,000. And what I've said, and I said this to Tucker Carlson on television, I said, I'm going to be buying the top forever. I mean, here's what I tell you. When Bitcoin's $1 million a coin, I bet you I will probably buy $1 billion of it at $1 million a coin, probably in one day. And when it's 2 million, I will probably be doing it again in one day. And when it's 10 million, I will be doing $1 billion or more in one day, right? And so we're not stopping. The big idea here is there's $450 trillion of assets in equity, real estate, fixed income that's store of value assets in the 20th century economy. There's $2 trillion in Bitcoin in the 21st century economy. We're the bridge. We're going to continue to create Bitcoin-backed securities to channel that capital from an inefficient energy form to a more efficient structure. When if I give you $1 billion and you invest in a diversified portfolio of African real estate companies and equity investments, that's a very inefficient portfolio. If I take the same $1 billion and I pull it into Bitcoin and I eliminate your counterparty risk to every country in Africa and every company and every currency in Africa, that's a much more efficient thing that gives off energy. So I don't see why we wouldn't just keep growing every year forever. There'll be a point when Bitcoin is a $300, $400, $500 trillion asset class, and maybe there's, if I don't know if it'll ever equalize. We'll see, but I mean, this will probably be 1,000 trillion and this will be 500 trillion. And there's still going to be normies. There's still going to be people that are like, I'd rather buy my government bonds,
right.
or the government told me I had to capitalize my bank on the bonds, or I want to buy this. There's still going to be that. There's always going to be, in my opinion, there's going to be a spread between, say, the S&P. If the S&P is 15 and Bitcoin is 60 to 60, I think the Bitcoin is tracking toward the S&P, and the S&P is going to track up because the S&P companies will flip to hold Bitcoin.
Yep.
But there's always going to be this risk premium, which theoretically is up to 6% because of the counterparty risk of you've got an attack surface, you've got a company, you've got a currency, you've
management
got
risk, et cetera.
All this,
Yeah.
and as long as that risk exists, there's always going to be some kind of arbitrage opportunity.
According to Michael Saylor, Bitcoin's market valuation may reach $500 trillion or perhaps $1,000 trillion in the coming decades, indicating his strong optimism in the cryptocurrency's long-term growth. To put this into perspective, the market value of Bitcoin is currently about $2 trillion, which indicates that there is still a ton of space for growth. Saylor points to the distinctive advantages of Bitcoin, such as its immunity to counterparty risk, lack of governmental intervention, and geographical restrictions as major forces behind its development. Based on a 21-year model, he predicts that the price of Bitcoin might rise at an average yearly rate of 29%, eventually hitting an incredible $13 million per coin. This strategy offers a clear structure for long-term planning, giving people, companies, and even entire countries a calculated chance to add Bitcoin as a foundational asset to their financial portfolios. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest videos. Now let's get back and hear his following words.
Look, I would just focus people on my 21-year forecast is it goes up 29% ARR on average, which means it's 60% grinding down to 20% over 21 years. And it grows to 13 million a coin, and it grows to 280 million in the asset. And of course, there's plus or minus rails. There's the bear case, and then there's the bull case. It could go faster.
Yeah.
It could go less.
By the way, you did put out a great model, which is on GitHub.
But yes, it's Bitcoin 24. You can download it. You
Yeah.
can plug in your own assumptions about everything, come up with your own model. But, I'm focused on the 21 years because I think that's as much as any politician, any business executive, any normal investor can manage. And I'm sure that if I'm lucky enough to be in good health,
Yeah.
I will come trot out in 21 years and I will give you the next 21-year model. And that will be a much better articulated, more nuanced one that'll take into account the 8 billion robot flying cars,
Yeah.
and all the other stuff, the telepathic DNA, nanobot, inlays we have. But right now, I think that that's enough.
Yep.
And you can imagine and build any kind of business and chart a strategy for your family, your business, or your country based upon that model, which I think is beneficial to most people. There's another massive market, $100 trillion market for equity like S&P, SPY, Vanguard 500, QQQ, that kind of, and something that gives you 15, just beat the S&P performance. And if you do it with less vol or less risk, then why don't I just give you trillions of that? So there's that market. Then there's the Bitcoin market, which is I want Bitcoin upside. And of course, there's $100 billion now, I guess, in that market right now. But, at MicroStrategy, and then there's the convertible arbitragers, right? And the convertible arbitragers, they're like, I'm going to buy 50 million of your paper. I'm going to short 40 million or 35 million of your stock. And then as the stock moves around, I'm going to adjust the short.
Right.
And I'm extracting that premium risk-free. And that's their thing, and that's what they do. when I meet with them, by the way, I'm like, you know, I see you guys every, you know, few weeks or every quarter. Nice to see you again. By the way, that thing that you shorted tripled. Like my advice, what I say to them, they don't take my advice. No, it's okay. It's okay. Now everybody's got to do their thing. The short's got to be short. The long's got to be long. The trader's got to trade, right? The haters got to hate. The maxis are going to maxi. Everybody's going to do their thing. That's fine. But what I say to them is, you know, this is like 75% Bitcoin upside. Actually, it's like 70% MicroStrategy upside. It's 100% Bitcoin upside, no downside. That is to say, if Bitcoin crashed 90% tomorrow, you're still getting paid. Bitcoin could go down 95% tomorrow and stay there for 5 years. You're still getting paid. It's like, why are you're already hedged. You're already 10x over collateralized. Why are you hedging it again?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Right? But there are some people that do hedge, they double hedge it. So there's a group of people that buy that convert and they just buy the convert, they're already hedged and they outperform Bitcoin without the risk. There's other people that, by the way, that's one type of view. There are other people, they don't want to take the risk for an hour. Like literally the afternoon they're buying the bond. When the stock's moving around, they're buying 50 million, shorting 40 million minute by minute. They don't even want to take an afternoon of risk.
Right.
But that's okay. So I think that it's a long-winded answer to your question, but we're just going to provide securities to every pool of capital. If what you want is that instrument, if we think it's good for our common stock shareholders, we'll sell it.
Michael Saylor is still very hopeful about Bitcoin's long-term prospects. He has projected a 21-year growth rate of 29% on average every year. His model predicts that the price of Bitcoin may rise steadily, tapering to about 20% yearly growth after beginning at 60% and finally hit $13 million per coin. As a result of this expansion, Bitcoin's market capitalization would reach an incredible $280 trillion, underscoring its ability to transform international banking. Saylor contrasts the potential of Bitcoin with more established markets, such as the $100 trillion equities market that is represented by the Vanguard funds and the S&P 500. In those markets, investors usually strive for decreased volatility and 15% annual returns. Bitcoin, on the other hand, provides substantial upside without counterparty risk, regional restrictions, or governmental meddling. Additionally, he talks about convertible arbitrage methods, which are employed by certain investors to reduce risk and maximize profits. Saylor concludes by highlighting how Bitcoin's special qualities and long-term outlook make it the ideal structure for generating and preserving wealth over the ensuing decades. His 21-year projection offers a clear framework for integrating Bitcoin into strategic financial planning. Regardless of whether you're an individual, company, or even a country, Saylor is certain that Bitcoin will continue to be a vital asset for the financial industry as technology advances. Before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.